Hi, I'm Jim Del Vecchio, and this is Marketing Yourself for Your Career. It's a short video just to give you some tips to help you along in marketing yourself and helping you get good jobs. First, evaluate your job hunt. Do you know what kinds of jobs you're seeking? If not, work on career planning first. That would be the thing to come first. Have an idea of what you want to do, what you like to do, what jobs are out there, and so forth. What sources are you using to find jobs? Are you using want ads? Are you asking friends and so forth? Take a look at all of your sources. If you're unemployed, how long have you been out of work? How many companies have you applied to so far? How many interviews have you received? How many job offers have you received? If you don't know what kind of job you're seeking, it probably won't come across well to employers. Also, with more strong direction usually comes more success. So once you decide what you want to do, you can go at it with more motivation and it'll come across better. Use many sources, but the best is networking and applying directly to employers. But I want to stress that a lot of research shows, not only in marketing for jobs, but in other types of marketing, using various different sources is a good technique. That's why you see companies, nationwide companies, they're advertising newspapers, they're advertising on TV and radio, they're advertising over a vast array because it's going to hit different people, different times, different media. And so you want to use more sources too. But again, the best is networking, that's word of mouth, and applying directly to employers. Others are internet, want ads, state workforce offices, and civil service hiring through civil service tests and union hiring halls. If you are unemployed a short time, I would tell you not to panic. Give your job hunt some time. If it does not kick in and you are not getting called for interviews, it must be your resume or application form. If you know you're qualified for the job you're seeking, you're not getting called in, then it must be the resume or application form. Whatever you're putting out there first to get them to call you in, that's not working if you know you're qualified. How many companies applied to so far? The busier you are, the better. Keep applying even if you have an interview for a job that sounds like you will get the offer. It gives you more confidence and momentum. In doing this job, a career counseling job for many years, I can tell you many times people, when they get a job and they think it might work out, they stop really, or they almost stop their momentum. And then if it falls through and they don't get the offer, and sometimes you won't get the offer, you might be really good, but somebody may know somebody, right? And they might get the job. Well, they've lost all that momentum. So you want to keep up the momentum, and I think it helps your attitude also. How many interviews have you received? Out of 100 resumes, you might get 5 interviews. So what is your hit rate? Think about it when you send it. Try to keep some records. If it is low, you probably need to change your resume. How many job offers? About 15% of interviews lead to job offers. If you are batting 0, then you need to work on your interviewing skills. Not getting in the door, get help for resume or application form development at your local workforce office or community college. The expert resume books are good resources I've found. Interviewing skills need help? Check with the workforce office or community college for workshops. Libraries and bookstores have good books on interviewing as well. Have not applied to many employers? Not active enough? Get yourself motivated. Set a goal of making at least 3 contacts a day and reward yourself after you've done it, whether you get an interview or not. That's the key thing, is the goal is not necessarily to be successful, the goal is just to get out there and do it. Once you've done it, reward yourself in some way. And once you get going, making, let's say, 3 contacts a day, you'll be surprised. Your job hunt will improve, your technique will improve, you'll start getting called in, you'll start getting interviews, you'll start getting job offers. And don't be afraid to use the phone. As one employer said, if I have a job opening, I have a problem, and I want you to call me up and tell me how you're going to solve my problem. If you keep that in mind, it takes the focus off of your nervousness and thinking you're bothering the employers to the employer's side and their needs. If they have a job opening, they have a problem. If I call you up and you have a job opening, if I can solve that problem, you're going to want to hear from me. If you don't have a problem that I can solve, then you'll tell me so, and I'll say, okay, fine, I'll move on to the next one. General advice on resume, application form, cover letter. Some say resumes will be extinct in a few years, but we'll still have to present ourselves in some way, in writing in some way, either through the internet or video or what have you. I guess that's not writing, but you'll still be expressing yourself. So you always want to come across well. Make sure your resume matches your target. If you if you have a target of, let's say, a pretty low job and you present experience at that level, then maybe it looks good to the employer. But if you're at that level and you want to go for a job high, much higher, it doesn't really match. Or if you want to go for a job much lower, the employers are going to wonder why you're going much lower. So you want to list your experience that matches that target. If your objective is listed as a clerical person, but your resume highlights mostly store clerk or restaurant work, it might not capture the employer's attention, for example. Employers interview only about 5% of people who applied, so they look for reasons to screen out people, especially if it's a good job. They get a lot of resumes, application forms on their desk, and they have to look for a way to get that pile down to a manageable number. And the way they do that is to screen out. So if something on your resume or application form doesn't look quite like a perfect person for that job, it's going to be tossed. Not tossed like thrown away, but you'll be screened out. So if you're wanting a job that usually requires a 4-year degree, for example, and you don't have it, by listing your education on the resume, you will likely get screened out. You might do a skills or a functional resume at that point and lead with the skills you have for the job and leave the education out. Let them ask for it later. I've suggested this to many people and with good success. But a lot of people get the job. Once they get into the job interview, the employers are very impressed with their background, and they might say, for example, and you have a 4-year degree, right? And the person will say, well, no, actually, I don't have a 2-year degree, or I have just some education. But the employer has been so impressed with their background, they say, well, that's okay, and they get the job anyway. Likewise, if you are overeducated, you might leave something off, like the fact that you completed courses toward a PhD. It all depends on really what you're applying for and the requirements. I don't like this. I would tell people, don't lie. I'm just saying, I'm not advocating that you lie. I'm saying that, and by the way, if you lie in an application form, that's a problem because the application form is a legal document, but your resume is not. It's just a marketing document. It's like a marketing brochure. So if you say you're right that you have a PhD and you don't, that's a lie. If you have a lot of courses toward the PhD and you don't tell them about it, that's not a lie. You're just leaving it off. You did not convey anything that is not true. Do you have the education or work experience you stated? So you have told the truth. You just did not tell them everything in order to get an interview. I sometimes refer to this as using guerrilla tactics in the job market, but it is not lying. Don't lie or try to embellish. Just use your own language, but write it well with no typos or incorrect grammar. Did you catch the error in the word grammar on the previous page? What was your reaction? Did you snicker or laugh at my mistake? Employers will likely do the same, so be careful and proofread it. From being on this side of the desk, I can tell you many times after the person leaves, the people in the hiring jobs will come around and say, oh, look what this person did, and they will laugh or snicker. So just be careful. You won't get the job if you make too many mistakes. Don't turn off an employer by putting down that you have over 14 or more years experience. I sometimes would tell clients, employers want someone with 20 years experience who is 23 years old, which of course is impossible. So you just don't want to put down too many years. Just what I would say, a lot of times I would say extensive experience, or in a type of, let's say as an objective on your resume, or over 10 years experience, or over 7 years experience, something like that. If you say you have 25 years experience, it sounds like you're maybe getting old. Don't list too many jobs also. It makes you look like a job hopper, and even though you may not be, when they get a resume with so many jobs on it, that's a tendency, it's an impression they get. I've seen research with large numbers of employers, and I put it into an easy to remember acronym about what employers want. A lot of people will ask me, what employers are really looking for? Well, here's basically what they're looking for. The skills, experience, education, and knowledge, the acronym I use here is SEEK. Skills, experience, education, and knowledge. This is many times referred to as the minimum qualifications, and they will be listed on a job announcement or one ad. And this is it's kind of the little more that's a little bit not so hard and fast. The TRIES is the acronym. T for time. It's duration, meaning did you stay on jobs a good period of time or did you leave? That's the job hopper thing. They're not going to hire you if they think you're not going to stay. So they want to see your past history show some duration. Punctuality, getting to work on time, and the low absenteeism, that you don't take off much time. That's the time. R for responsibility, perform the job in accordance with proper procedures. I is interpersonal skills. You get along well with supervisors, coworkers, and customers. Really important to get along well with supervisors because they really hold the power whether you're going to keep the job or not. E is for effort. They want you to be conscientious, work hard just normally, but also to make an extra effort when needed. Now there are times, almost every business goes through it, when it's crunch time, when it's a busy time. And they want you to step up at that time. Those who do, many times will win the employer's favor. S is for stress. Basically, that means you perform the job well, you don't miss much time in reaction to stress. Like many times what people do, they get short-tempered under stress. They might get headaches, they might get sick in other ways, they might abuse themselves with alcohol or cigarettes or drugs or something. So you handle stress pretty well. In the interviews, use each question as an opportunity to present your qualifications. That's the biggest thing that I could tell you. So if they ask, tell me about yourself, you're not going to get real personal. You're just going to say something like, I'm here to apply for a job as a manager. I have 3 years experience and I have a 2-year degree in business management. And relax and be yourself. Basically, if you think about that first thing I mentioned, if you use each question as an opportunity to present yourself, if they were going to throw something at me like a psychological test, like what's your favorite color and why, many people would get freaked out by that. They would say, oh, what are they looking for? If I say red, it might mean this. And if I say green, it might mean this. I would just tell them my favorite color. If my favorite color is blue, and I would go back to this, use each question as an opportunity to present my qualifications. Why do I like blue? Well, now I'm thinking about the qualifications. I'm thinking, well, blue is, I think, seen as a relaxing color and a steady color. And that's the kind of worker I am. I'm just a steady worker, and my background shows that. You notice how I've taken a stupid, ridiculous question, I've just made it up, this ridiculous question, and I've turned it around to my qualifications, and I found a way to present my qualifications. If you do that, that's really great. What are your greatest weaknesses? I would not answer this question by listing a real weakness. I might list a weakness like I give too much at times and I overwork myself or something like that. Or you might state a weakness which isn't a weakness for the job. So for example, if you're going for an accounting job, you might say you tried sales once and found it was not your strength. Employers usually don't care if their accountants are the best salespeople or not. So you pick something that's seen as not really a qualification for that job that you're going for, and you've answered their question. You said that you found that you weren't for sales, and that's why you went back to school, got your accounting degree or whatever, bookkeeping, and you're going for this job as an accountant. That answers that question. What kind of money do you want? Wait until they've decided they want you, then you can negotiate. If you start talking money before they've decided they want you, and a lot of psychological studies point this out, if this person is looking at among several alternatives, they can knock you out, early on. But once they've decided, if they've interviewed a number of people and decided on you, now your stock, so to speak, has risen. They have their heart set on getting you. Now you're in a better position. If they say, well, I want to start you at minimum wage, you may say, well, I was thinking of starting quite a bit higher than that, actually. And you might get it. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? If you say that a job is far from where you are applying for, it might not go over well. And there are good books in the library for those who want to put forth a better effort. If you want to really bone up on your interviewing skills, I would suggest doing that. Application forms of various types may have to be completed. A big thing I can say, be neat, be careful. Many of the same guidelines apply that we've been talking about. If they are looking for a white-collar worker, you might not want to tell them about all the part-time plumbing jobs you took to pay the bills between jobs in your field. It's amazing, but after 25 years of working in the employment and hiring field, I can tell you the percent of people who do a really good job on an application form is maybe 5%, probably less than that. So be one of them. I mean, when you're on this side of the desk and you see all these, like over a period of years, thousands of application forms, and you see that one that's filled out really good, you know, to you it may not seem like much, but on this side of the desk, that sticks out like a sore thumb, and that's going to get you screened in. We have a number of courses that I'm putting out through my website. The Trading Secrets course is great if you want to make a lot of money in the stock market. Just let us know if you're interested, and we'd be glad to tell you more about that. And these are the websites, learntoattractabundance.com, jimdelvecchio.com. It points to the same site, and we look forward to meeting you in the future.